What? Understand I got a lot of.
What's going on, everybody? Lloyd Jones with Midnight Comics, or rather, Lloyd Jones with Indie Breakdown, a show where we break down your favorite comic book characters' power, stats, and abilities and get them ready for an eventual Indie versus matchup. We took a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back with episode 27 of the Indie Breakdown, season 3 at that. So a lot of awesome guests and what have you. But this one, I dare say, is a very special guest here because we met this guy, this creator, when we were creating the group, the Facebook group now, or a little before that, in regards to really trying to build this out and get to know more indie comic book characters that maybe couldn't have made it on the show or just heard about it and just wanted to get their stuff out there. So it's really awesome to see where he's come from in developing the character, how far he's getting right now with the story about to release. All that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring this awesome creator up. Welcome to the stream, or recording rather, Dre Burke. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
So, we know, well, I know anyway, but we're going to tell the people that your character, Pantheon, we want to know, what can he do? How strong is he? All of that. But first, tell us a little bit about the inspiration, how you came up with the character Pantheon.
So, actually, funny story, kind of. I was inspired by He-Man.
Okay.
To make Pantheon. He-Man and Terry McGinnis were the two biggest inspirations as far as his character dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took like little tidbits from here and there, like my kids, my own personal life experiences. But one of the biggest things about him that I wanted to portray was that he was a multicultural character.
Okay.
That not only is he Cameroonian on his mom's side, but he's also Italian on his father's side. And not just like they weren't born and raised in America. Like his mom's side of the family all still stay in Cameroon. So there'll be instances where he's visiting his grandmother and all of his aunts and everything like that. He's cooking the cuisine from that area, and he knows all the cultural dances, and same with his father's side of the family. So that's just something that I wanted to show, because normally when you see a black character, it's a normal fade, or they want to give him the Killmonger hot yeah, so or it's a normal fade, or he T'Challa themed. Like I want to show more aspects in every one of my characters. But as far as Pantheon himself, yeah, I wanted to hit the fact that he's very biracial.
And you know something, what you said just now, right? Being able to see that he's helping make the cuisines, he's hanging out, seeing more of that behind the mask is something I know that we strive to do, but it's refreshing to hear and see that kind of thing happening with other creators, because we kind of, and us included in the beginning, where it's just like, I got the villain of the week, I got the bad guy, they're fighting, all right, done. Okay, no, who is Pantheon, right? Who are these characters? Where is the diversity besides just the skin color, right?
Yeah,
more than just saying, oh, this is a black character, oh, this is this. I like what I'm hearing so far in regards to, you're going to see that family dynamic, that family life. So no, that's awesome. So you said Terry McGinnis and He-Man. Dive more into that. So is so that's the inspiration. So we were talking about, I know that he's 17, 18 initially. Is he going to have that same kind of attitude, kind of angst, like Terry McGinnis, or?
So he does get that for a spell. And he gets that around because, without giving away too much, he does experience some great tragedy. And he wasn't raised the way he was raised by his mother and father. He was raised with very concrete values. So, like, his mother is a district attorney, his father is a soldier. So he has a really big chip on his shoulder when it comes to doing the right thing, even when somebody isn't watching. So, except for his little sister. He can't stand her. She just gets on his nerves. But his attitude does shift after a certain incident in his life takes place.
Okay.
But then once he meets other heroes, and it's kind of like he looks up to figures that remind him of his mother and father. So when he meets those other people in this new space, kind of how like the group that you guys started, when we start to talk to each other in this space, we become more comfortable. We become more at ease with what we're trying to do. So he actually does that, and it's displayed in his character. When he meets other heroes and he meets people doing the right thing and people with great power, and they're all doing these things to either better the world or protect the world, he starts to come out of his bad boy Terry persona and starts to get back into who he is as a young man.
Okay. So he's not having to figure this stuff out by himself for any real length of time. There's going to be a stint, but
for a portion.
Okay.
So he does actually have a mentor. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. But he has a mentor, but his mentor is only his. So it's not like his mentor is a monk or some guy who taught him how to fight or anything like that. No, his mentor is actually an attendant that's attached to him once he gets his abilities.
Okay.
And if she does not want to be seen, she can't be seen except by him. If she doesn't want to be heard, she can't be heard except by him, unless he makes her do it. But he doesn't know he can do that yet.
Interested. So we touched on it. Tell me the powers. Well, first, before we talk about the powers, can you talk about how he acquired the powers, or should we just kind of skip over that and talk about? Okay. How does he acquire these powers? Is he born with them at all, or is this something that comes after the fact?
It comes well after the fact. This happens on the cusp of his 17th birthday. So, a little bit of a backstory. There are, in my cosmic hierarchy, there are what is called He Who Is, which is the supreme being. And the title He Who Is means that no matter who says it, He Who is a question. What is he? He's everything. So He Who Is created the omniverse. But he got other stuff to do, so he delegated the creation of life and things like that to the 12 primordials. And the 12 primordials are what are called the over gods, or their elder gods. Well, the over gods oversee creation and destruction. Their whole purpose is to make things and watch it blossom. And then once it's run its course, get rid of it in order to make something new. Okay. So then there are gods under those that are like your inner gods, which are your Zeus, your Amun-Ra, and stuff like that. Those are gods that were made from the faith of the people of the planet that inhabit it. Well, one of the over gods gets to the point to where he's sick of his cosmic duty. He's sick of just simply creating, destroying, and observing. He wants to live. He wants to experience. He wants to do other things. But he doesn't want to be underneath boot heel of anyone else. So what he does is he starts slowly picking off members of his kin and assimilating them. So as he does that, it not only does that enhance his powers, but it starts to alter his look. And all of them have the suffix eris. So how angels in the Bible have the suffix el, except for Metreon. Well, all the over gods have the suffix eris. So Vex Eris is the god who ends up killing his kin. And once he assimilates enough of them, he starts to pretty much go after the rest of them. And they know that they can't stop him as they are. So with a last-ditch effort, they bind themselves into an artifact called the Orb of Fian, which is a Pantheon cut in half. And the Orb of Fian is attached to the attendant Veil. She goes to Earth with it. And she leaves their universe, which is the dimension that they are in, and Vex can't follow because he don't know where she went. So what ends up happening is Vex ends up donning the persona Imperious, and Veil lands on Earth, and the orb is actually the meteorite that destroyed the dinosaurs. So as the orb radiates the planet, that's how abnormals, because I don't call them mutants or metahumans. In my universe, they're called abnormals. So since the orb radiates the planet for millions of years before Veil wakes up, that's how abnormals are birthed with powers in the Omnicomics verse. So once she wakes up, the Earth is in a pretty bad place, but the orb lays dormant until it senses somebody that it's willing to give its power to. So it stays dormant most of Pantheon's entire life until around his 17th birthday. That's when it realizes that it wants to bond with him. So then it seeks him out, and once it latches onto him, there you have it. You got a new god, and he doesn't know that he's a god.
I like this. I like
Not
this.
only
So,
is he a god, he is one of the top pivotal gods in the cosmology. The only beings above him, if give or take, the only real beings above him are the abstracts, the overseer, retribution, order, chaos, etc. But other than that, but he don't know where he is on the pecking order.
interesting. And with him still learning the powers and stuff like that, there's still a
he has to learn everything.
So let me ask this then, which, okay, this is awesome because obviously I'm learning this fresh as well. So the energy permeating from the orb gives powers, but then the orb itself, once attached, also gives the fullness of its powers and ability. Before we dive more into Pantheon, I'm curious, does he still radiate this energy that may potentially provide that same level of radiation that will eventually create more abnormals? Well, I'm sorry, was it abnormals?
Abnormals. Yes and no.
Okay.
So once he bonded with the orb, he becomes what's called a prime being. If you remember what I said earlier, there were only 12 of the overgods. There can be no more. There can be no less. There has to be 12. Well, only thing that happened was those 12 got condensed into 2. So 6 on one end of the spectrum, 6 on the other end of the spectrum. So that's permitted. Well, with that being said is, once Ashton, which is Pantheon, gets the orb and he becomes a prime being, there can be no other Ashton across the multiverse. So the minute he touches the orb and bonds with it, the overseer is no. I don't want to give away too much, but the overseer gets notified about that.
No spoilers. No spoilers. You gotta read it.
Yeah, about to say. So the cosmology gets changed because Ashton becomes Pantheon. So there is only one Ashton in the entire multiverse. Now, before he got the orb, there was countless ones. So, but as far as him radiating that
every
energy,
version of himself kind of converge into like almost like a to use a Marvel term, right? Like a Nexus being almost when he acquired those powers.
Very, very similar, and due to that is the reason why, not the reason why, but Pantheon is I don't want to use the term immune because it's not like it's something that's being trying to hurt him, but he is absent of time. So across all timelines, across all multiverses, there's still only one Pantheon. So there is no future him that can come see past him.
It's just
if he was to go to the future, he would still be the same him that came from the present.
Interesting. Okay. Ooh. Okay. There will never be a crossover of two pantheons running into each other. Ever.
Never. They can't do it.
Interesting. So he's just this constant point in reality, really. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So let's get into it then. Tell me, what is Pantheon's powers? Let's talk about the powers, then we'll talk about the strength of said powers.
So his powers are numerous, but not so many to where it's like overbearing. It's the fact of how strong his abilities actually are. Okay. So if you were to take Dr. Manhattan, the Spectre, and Galactus and put them in Miles Morales, but not tell him that he has those abilities. So Vale's job is not only to mentor him and keep him up to date on the cosmology and everything that's happening in the universe and why he is what he is. Her job is also to make sure that this kid stays thinking for the time being that he's walking around with a 9mm instead of walking around with a nickel.
Right. Okay. So I'm imagining this is almost like a firestorm situation where there's this mentor that's kind of over the shoulder explaining how he can do these things, but he's still exploring how strong or how much he can actually activate these powers and abilities. Would they?
And there's even times
Does he have a
where he doesn't even know if he can deal with certain things. Like he second guesses
right?
himself because he has heroes. There's comic books and stuff that he sees, and then there's actual heroes in the universe. Still, he's not the first hero of the Omni Comics verse. He's just the flagship character. So by the time he becomes a hero, there's already a Justice League themed team there called the Protectors. There's already team heroes. Villainy is everywhere. And when he gets those powers, he doesn't think he compares to some of those other heavy hitters.
So, really quick, as we dive into that really quick, in regards to him, I'm imagining, initially anyway, almost a My Hero Academia situation where Deku gets the powers of All Might, but he can't handle that. Is that a case for Pantheon at all with these powers, or he's able to handle it, but the output, the fear really is if I put too much into it or I don't know what I'm doing, I could accidentally destroy the things around me, and that's why, or potentially why he holds back and he's not at the level where he can fully output stuff.
A little bit of both. So, in one aspect, he has no idea what he can do. He doesn't even learn how to fly until later on. He has no idea he can do that.
I like this.
He doesn't know he can manipulate energy. He doesn't know he has superhuman strength. Like he says ouch when getting hit by a crowbar because he thinks that it should hurt him.
Gotcha.
So he doesn't know
because that's what previously he knows. Okay.
Yeah. So when he does start to come into his own and does start to grow, he feels more so that, okay, well, I can take this, but I still can't quite take what somebody like Titan or Warriors or XL, like these heroes who've saved all of these people and this, that, and the other. Like, I would hate to run into one of their villains because I know I can't take this person, but what he really doesn't know is that he can.
Okay.
And he is very careful of once he gets a little older in his powers, not as far as age, but once he gets a little older into his powers, because his powers are a lot like the human body. The more he uses them, they do grow, but not like, they don't just Zenkai boost like a Z fighter or anything. But they do grow like a human body. Like, as he uses his powers more, they grow. But they don't grow to the point to where if he's flipping over a semi-truck, the next time he uses powers, he's not shoving moons type deal.
I see.
That's what's the word I'm looking for? That's an example.
Yeah, I'm liking this even better because, my assumption, obviously, prior to, right, I thought it was he's got the powers. He is the guy from Jump, which, of course, we've seen that, right, through the group, through conversations and stuff like that. We've seen that, like, no, my guy is destroying multiverses from issue 1. It's like, dang, okay. Who's he fighting?
No,
so it's refreshing to hear that there is a growth aspect to him. Is his potential, up there? Yes, but we get to see that journey as he reaches those upper echelons of power. I do like that. Yeah. But there are certain
characters. There are certain characters within the cosmology that after he gets a little more familiar with his abilities, he tends to have a small spell in his character development where he's punching far above his weight class. It's like one of your kids feeling themselves and then running in there and hitting you, thinking they can take you. So, certain characters, he has a chip on his shoulder when it comes to doing the right thing because that's how he was raised. So if he has to sacrifice himself to save somebody, he absolutely will without even thinking. He'll immediately put himself in that harm's way. Well, there are certain characters, like for instance, Imperius, which is the opposite of him. If he was to run up on Imperius any time before I actually make him run up on Imperius, there's a dog. He would dog him. Because he is a god who absorbed 5 other gods, and he's been a god since the beginning of existence. Pantheon
he knows what he is.
Yeah, Pantheon is a kid being turned into a god, and he has no idea what he's doing.
Billy Batson versus Darkseid.
Yeah. So if he was to run up on Imperius would absolutely maul him. Like, he'd snatch the orb out of him and everything. There'd be nothing he could do about it.
So, okay. we're gonna come back to that. Or no, I want to know now. So, can he have those powers stripped away from him if that orb is taken away, or has it become an
Yes,
integral part of his being?
yes, and no. So,
Okay.
he perceives himself to be flesh and blood. So because he
Okay.
perceives it, he is. But
Oh.
once he's bonded
Okay.
with the orb, his body is no longer. When I said Spectre and Doctor Manhattan, his body is made out of a type of energy that is the building blocks of all creation. So,
Okay.
but he perceives himself to still be flesh and blood. He perceives
So
himself
perception
to
does
still age.
become reality in the case of
Yeah.
Pantheon. Okay.
He perceives himself
Oh.
to be 18 later on in the series, etc. Blah blah blah. But in all actuality, he can be any age he wants to. He doesn't ever have to age again if he doesn't want to. But
So that
he's a kid, and it's his birthday. He believes
so
that
he's
he's
18
18.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as the orb being taken from him, the only beings that can take the orb from him is a being that is within his cosmology or above it. So, say Imperius. Imperius can pull it from him in the early stages of the series, or if Pantheon is rendered innate. So if Imperius beat him to sleep, he can take the orb from him.
I see.
The Overseer can take the orb from him, period. And that's because the Overseer has all authority for the entire omniverse underneath He Who Is.
Okay. So it's got to be those kind of abstract kind of entities that. Okay. So let me ask it. Well, not even ask this. So when you said something about like a crowbar hurts him and stuff like that, that's because his perception is I'm a regular guy. If I got hit by this crowbar, it is going to hurt. Okay.
Yeah. And then once he gets his powers, he's still finagling everything around, trying to live up to what he was taught. So yeah, he might be bulletproof, but if he got hit by somebody that say if the thing was to hit him, he'd really think that he was fighting for his life for a hot second. Like,
right.
Oh my God, I can't believe he hit me that hard.
Okay. And so through his various adventures, and I'm really digging this, and we'll dive into. Of course, I have the powers and stuff that you provide. Well, the information that you provided over here on the side as well. I'm gonna dive into, but I like this potential growth here for this character because he's going to have to go through these harder battles to realize that he is stronger, and then as he's realizing he's stronger and going through these battles, he is using these powers and then having those grow as well. So I like this I like the progression system that you have so far for it. So let me ask you this, because of course, one is about to drop. And yes, for those of you guys that are, we are still doing this show because issue 1 is dropping this month on Kickstarter. We'll talk more about that towards the end of it. But by the time that, not even by the time to say, create the book, it still counts. Don't at me. I have approved. But let's talk about the superhuman strength. We're going to talk in issue 1, and correct me if I'm wrong. Issue 1, we're going to see some semblance of him in action.
Kind
Where's
of.
that spoiler?
So what I wanted to do with issue 1 was showcase the others of his Pantheon.
Okay.
This way, it gives you an idea of what he could possibly do in the near future.
Okay.
So you don't actually get to see him do anything except for when he's human. So when he's human and he's normal, like growing up as a military brat, he's good. He's boxing and judo and wrestling. So, but again, he was raised a good way. So he ain't no bully. He don't go around just beating people up for the sake of it. If he has to defend somebody, he'll defend him. He absolutely can't stand bullies. Like it's like the biggest thing in the world that bothers him. That and people being disrespectful to their moms. So he has a chip on his shoulder when it comes to, like I said, doing the right thing. So you'll see him doing some things as a normal person, as a normal teenager. But as far as him as Pantheon himself, you'll see that reflected from the god of his tier.
Oh, okay. Noted. So let me ask this then. Base Pantheon, when we first see him in action, then when powers activated, the whole 9. What is kind of the strength limits that he's at that point. I want to know how hard is he hitting? How much is he lifting? Well, I do have the lift of 100 tons, but how hard is he hitting necessarily, right? Is he destroying a city block with a, with just the power of his punch, or is it going to take a little bit more than that?
This goes back to what you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Once he does start to, even as a normal person without powers, he's never fought anybody as hard as he physically can. And a large portion of that is how he was raised and the three arts that he was trained in. So again, he doesn't realize his power set. So when he gets his powers, one of the gods that he is bonded to is he's the god of knowledge and martial combat. So that god is responsible for those things across all creation. So he doesn't know he can tap into that. He doesn't know he can fight from some random alien race whose sun is purple and their planet is green. Like, he doesn't know he can use any of that stuff.
Right.
But he is terrified to hit somebody or to cut loose or anything like that because he doesn't know what the outcome can be. He's always been told there's been consequences of things like that. That's just why he doesn't fight in school or whatever. And then I said earlier how he does go through that little dark spell of acting like Terry. That's when he starts doing stuff like that. And when that does start happening, yes, he will throw a jab and wipe out a city block. But then it'll terrify him. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Like, I need to dial it down. Like those, once he gets his powers,
I'm getting Gohan vibes, young Gohan vibes.
I would say once he gets his powers, he actually starts to bring it down. No, you're good. You're good. He starts to bring it down because, like I said, Terry McGinnis thing happened during a tragedy. But then once he gets his powers, for a little bit, he's kind of an a-hole. But then once he sees some of the stuff that he can do, he brings it down. Like he has no choice. Like, he has a real long heart-to-heart with his grandmother in Africa. And she just tells him, like, a bunch of old proverbs and everything like that he needs to listen to because he's growing into the man that he's eventually going to be for the rest of his life. So she tells him, like, this, that, and the other, and he brings it down, way down.
Let me ask then, in regards to speed at this point, right? Is he traversing the Milky Way galaxy in an instant, or just kind of, if he's pushing himself, able to fly around the world in a couple minutes? How fast can he run or fly at this point? I know you said it takes a while for him to get to the flying portion.
Yeah, when he first gets his powers, he's running. If I say around the planet, when he first gets his powers and he first tries to test his speed, he's clearing the entire planet in like less than 20 seconds.
Okay, noted. Dang. Okay.
And then another thing, just because this is something that people have asked me, the aura that emanates from his body does protect things around him. So the aura that emanates around his body does actually bend physics to his will. So being that he's one of the gods who has the ability, the building blocks of creation and destruction, he doesn't destroy anything unless he's cutting loose. So like when I told you that he threw a jab and destroyed like a city block, that's because he was, forgive my language, but he was pissed off. Like, he was trying to knock whoever he was swinging at out of the park.
Okay. See, okay. I'm excited because I'm already imagining a couple matchups from, and really quick, how the matchups usually work. We have, we only do the creator class with the people that was in that season, but I'm thinking about all three of these seasons so far, and I'm just like, I got a couple matchups that I'm just like, I want to see this because, you got your Jupiter Mans, sure, you got your Acolytes, you got your Souls and stuff like that, but like All-Star and Jupiter Man alongside of Pantheon, I think would be really cool. Just in regards to, you have the crystal that All-Star has, the Roman Pantheon that Jupiter Man has, so on and so forth. I love how that could potentially, how that kind of similar I can't even say similar cosmology because there is definitely some differences there, but just the kind of upper echelons of the power and the speed thing that just kind of reminded me about how fast Jupiter Man moves where it's just like, can they keep up with each other and who's hitting harder? I'm already kind of formulating a little versus matchup in my head for them. But
you don't want to go too far ahead, but they're I want to say issue 7.
Mm-hmm.
Pantheon's out here, like the whole pushing the moon or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, there's a character that I have named Daystar, and he was inspired by 90s Harry Osborn.
Okay.
But Daystar is an alien landed on Earth, and he was experimented on, kind of very Homelander-ish. But when he landed on Earth, he was a baby. The government built an entire town to keep up this facade for this little boy.
Mm-hmm.
And they raised him, they prodded him, experimented on him, and everything. He's very similar to Superman and Hyperion when it comes to power set.
Mm-hmm.
But come to find out, like, that wasn't true at all. Like, the technology that they experimented on came from outer space. But he's actually an abnormal who can absorb radiation. And that his mother and father gave him up for money to the government so they could experiment. So he ends up finding all that out. He's a really twisted kid in the head, but he goes down the path of wanting to be friends with Pantheon. And at first, they're friends. They solve a couple crimes and stop a couple villains together, this, that, and the other. But then as Daystar starts to find out that his mom gave him up, she's living her life, her best life. His dad is an alcoholic who never wanted him, etc. He found out the whole town he lived in is a lie. Everybody in that town are all actors just to keep up the facade.
Truman Show.
Yeah, and he gets to the point where he has a mental deterioration. So he feels like the only person that has ever been for him that he never felt that he had to second guess was Pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets to the point to where he tells Pantheon, like, hey, it's me and you. Like, we're going to be the best of friends. We're going to save the world, this, that, and the other. But I think you need to share some baggage. This way it can just be me and you. So he tries to get rid of Pantheon's girlfriend and his family. And then that causes a big turmoil. So when they end up getting into their fight, I think I sent it to you a while ago, but Pantheon hit him so hard, he went from our planet to a neighboring sun, just like 4.3 trillion miles away. Like, I actually have the analytics for this scene, like all of it written down.
That's heavy.
And
That's heavy.
And he was hot. Like, he wanted to kill him because of what he did to his girlfriend and his family. Mm-hmm. So so his powers, they get up there, like super up there. He just doesn't know he can do this stuff.
Right. And so once pushed into a corner, he can just really just start tapping into that, because back to that perception, that's something that he wants to do, is willing to do, and whatever he feels he needs to output, he's doing it. Like, I'm gonna punch it into the sun, and he's getting knocked into the sun. That's it.
Yeah,
I like that. Is he immortal by any means, like age-wise, or just kind of immune to?
Yes and no. So that goes back to his perception thing. Being that he is an amalgamation of all of so his powers aren't like Shazam's. His powers aren't gifted to him through a deal. He has it. Like, those other 6 overgods, they're within. They couldn't, if they wanted to get out, they couldn't. Like, they're in him now. Now, if they're all in agreement and everybody is on the same sheet of music, then Pantheon has something that comes later on. But as far as being immortal, yes, theoretically he is. Can he be killed? Yes.
Okay.
So he can be beat to death, but you're not going to get that. What's the word I'm looking for? You have got if you want him to go to sleep, you got to be hitting hard. Like, so his power, like the way his suit isn't a costume. His suit kind of radiates around him, kind of like the Green Lantern's rings radiate their costumes around. But the way Pantheon's powers are perceived to you or me. So say if you looked at Pantheon, who is somebody that you, Lloyd, admires most in this world?
Oh wow, probably my pops.
Then that's who you would see in Pantheon's costume.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
You won't
that
actually,
makes it tough to
because
fight him there. Whoa, because you're going to
his
see whoever inspires you.
yeah. So his powers are very celestial and cosmic in nature. So if he's rendered unconscious, not only will his suit disappear and you'll see his normal clothes, but you'll see who he really is. So there's an issue with that later on with another villain who's close to him, and they end up finding out who he is, whose identity. The only person that this ability doesn't work on is his mom, and that's because his mom actually admires the young man that he's growing into. So she admires him. So when she sees Ashton, she actually sees Ashton. And once he realizes it, so once he realizes it and once she realizes it and he accepts it, the illusion no longer works on that person. So if you were to see him and say, "You're not my dad, your name is Ashton," and he accepts that, you'll only see Ashton from now on. But that works the same way as if you were looking at a video or a picture. So if you were looking at the picture of Pantheon, you would see your dad, since that's the person you admire the most.
Interesting. So let me ask this: in regards to the character that that befriended him and all of that, does he sees him as him as well?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the reason why he grows so attached to him, because he sees this kid in the school doing all of these things, and he's like, "Hey, I know you." He's like, "Hey, keep that to yourself. Like, ain't nobody supposed to pick up on that." So yeah, except for like Imperius or beings above that tier. Like Imperius can see whoever. Like, he don't even need to see a person. He can just see the aura that the orb gives off.
Okay, and he's able to pick up on that. Okay. So we asked about immortality there. Let's talk about healing factors. I know that he has an accelerated healing factor. How quick is that? Are we talking, Deadpool, like, oh, my arm's over here, I got to just put it back on? Or is he just bloop? Or I said Deadpool. Deadpool he could do both. But regardless, is he just a brand new arm, hypothetically, or he got to attach stuff back?
Yes and no. So I know that's a lot of it. The reason why I say that is he does heal almost instantaneously. So he heals very similar to like Superman. But if he was to lose an arm, again, perception is reality. He's going to think he lost that arm. Like he's going to flip out and start screaming and everything like that. But say 20 years from now and he's mastered his abilities, he can lose that arm all he wants, and he can just rematerialize another one because he is made of the building blocks of creation. But at 17 years old, I mean, let's be honest. If you broke your ankle at 17 years old, the last thing you're going to be worrying about is healing. Like, oh my God, it's broke. You're going to do the Ace Ventura thing, like when he got shot by the arrow.
No, that's fair. And you know what? I got to think about that. He's, like you said, there's this Dr. Manhattan aspect where there is a level of this in the perception. Perception is everything. So let me ask this then. I do see some other abilities here. We're talking about matter manipulation and spiritual manipulation. I guess we kind of touched on matter manipulation, having, again, the perception, being able to bring back limbs and stuff like that. How much further does that go? And then we can dive into spiritual manipulation following that. So what levels does this matter manipulation go?
Right now, so say issue 1 and 2, he starts to learn that he can manipulate matter and atoms and whatnot. He can dissolve bullets before they get to him, instead of even though he is bulletproof, they'll dissolve before they even reach him. Later on in the series, though, being that he is comprised of the building blocks of creation, anything that is created, he can render into something different. And being that his powers are very celestial and cosmic in nature, he can do that same thing to apparitions, spiritual entities, whatever the case may be.
Interesting. So now I'm trying to imagine, because I never really, that's to me is unique because I haven't seen anybody be able to manipulate apparitions in a different sense, like completely turn that into something? Would they be able to, hypothetically, side question here, hypothetically, I immediately think about Dead Man from DC Comics, right? Hypothetically,
I know what you're about to say, and I was, I was holding off, but I know what you're about to say. So, if you're about to ask me, can he bring back people from the dead?
yes.
So, immediately, no. He doesn't learn. And the reason why, again, is because some things happen in his life to where he's so guilt-ridden and so headstrong over those things, and he's so much grief going on. Again, Vale wants him to stay a kid holding a 9mm. He does not want this kid knowing that instead of having a 9mm, he has a nuke.
Okay.
So
Need
there's
to know
a time period. Yeah, there's a time period where when she thinks he's ready, she starts exploring his abilities more, like astral projection and stuff like that. But when this first starts, absolutely, he could do it, but he doesn't know he can do it. He doesn't know how to do it. It's not like he can snap his fingers and it happens. He has to know how to do it. He has to see the composition. You know how in Also Superman, when Lex said, I can see atoms, I can see molecules, I can see the world the way you see it. Well, once his powers start to develop, Pantheon can see the building blocks of apparitions, of their soul tethers and stuff like that. He can see, like, if somebody's haunting a certain structure, he can see where they're haunting it at and why they're doing it. He can break that link. But she absolutely don't want him to know if he can do any of those things, because the last thing she wants is for balance must be had. So if he was to just, I'm going to bring back all these people, and it was their cause to die, the Overseer has two siblings, Retribution and Redemption. And then underneath them, within the cosmic oligarchy, is Death, Order, Eden. You have Oniric, which is the Lord of Dreams, is a giant griffin. Like, you have all these other characters that make up the cosmic oligarchy, and they reside over a specific thing in reality. So if he just starts bringing people back from the dead, he's going to get Death's attention.
Okay. The gods of the very concepts of death and reality and stuff like that are like, hey, buddy, no.
Yeah, like,
no.
And actually, there's later on down the line, he actually does run into them because of that exact issue, not bringing people back from death, but using his powers in a way to where it doesn't achieve balance. So they basically pull up on him, like 12 deep, like, hey, yo, what you doing over here?
See, I'm really liking the system that's here, right? Again, we talked about the kind of level up function, right? Where it's just the perception is reality. Then there's obviously the mentor on the shoulder, kind of, spoon feeding him his powers and stuff like that. Then like how muscles work, like, hey, he's using it, slowly getting stronger and stuff like that. But I like that there's rules like, hey, you can do all of these things, but understand the very fabric of reality. If you defy that order, there's going to be a problem. I am digging that. I do want to know more about this.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask about the divine energy projection, but I do want to hear what you're about to say, though.
So, within the cosmic oligarchy, the oligarchy are the beings that sit right above the 12 governing deities. Within the oligarchy, like I said, you have the Overseer, Retribution, and Redemption. They make up a scale. So one side of the scale is Retribution, the other side of the scale is Redemption, and then the Overseer himself is the pillar in the center of the scale. So he can tilt the scale however he sees fit. So it's up to them to vote, but if they can't come to an agreement and he just want to make the decision, just make the decision. So one of the decisions he made was there must be balance. So that's the reason why he even allowed Imperius to stay, and then for the orb to find Pantheon. Because there has to be a counter to Imperius.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, he can't just be walking around here. Yeah, he can't just be walking around here going into hell and smacking demons and uprooting Lucifer and whatnot like that. Like, he just can't be doing stuff like that. Like, that stuff come with consequences.
Okay. So from there, then that divine energy projection, energy absorption is pretty self-explanatory and stuff like that. But yeah, can you dive into more of this divine energy? Is this just a project? The orb, I assume, is divine energy, and he's or created from divine energy as a whole, and he's just projecting the energy set forth from that. Yeah.
Yes. So the way his energy standards work is any normal form of energy, issue 1, he can absorb. If it hits him and it's not hitting him enough to knock him out, he can absorb. He does not know he can do magical energy because he doesn't know that magic is an energy form. He thinks magic is magic. He thinks that those spells and those constructs are physical. He doesn't know that. Later on in the series, that's something that he does end up coming to an understanding with. But as far as his energy projection, so say Ghost Rider, for instance, let's use him. So Ghost Rider's Hellfire can not only burn you, it can burn your soul, and it's in a divine nature. Pantheon can absorb that or redirect it.
Okay.
And if Ghost Rider isn't on the tier necessary, like King of Hell, Ghost Rider, etc., like, you know, those power buffs that he gets, if he's not on the tier necessary to hurt Pantheon, he won't hurt Pantheon.
It just won't hurt him.
Now, Now, big thing is Pantheon can kill him, like flat out. It doesn't have to. Pantheon's body is a celestial weapon. So, being that he's bonded with the Orb of Lean, he can hurt. Like I said, he can hurt apparitions, demons, ghosts, any wraiths. He can hurt beings like the Spectre and Dr. Man. He can physically hurt them. Somebody like Dr. Manhattan, he could physically absorb because he has no physical body.
Right. He's just pure energy.
So
like, and you know what? I see something on here. And I was going to ask about the senses and stuff like that, but honestly, self-explanatory, right? Again, you know, super hearing senses and stuff like that. But I see that you have capable of killing immortal beings, and when you brought up like Dr. Manhattan and him being able to absorb him and stuff like that, is the ability to be able to kill these immortal beings due to, again, the kind of perception situation where it's just like, I can't even comprehend what you mean by immortal, or obviously when he gets to that certain point where he realizes what he can and can't do, gets to a point where it's just like concepts like that don't exist to me, so they don't for you. Is that what I'm gathering with that?
Not so much as that. It's more so. So think of a spiritual character from any mainstream media.
Right. Oh goodness. Oh, I didn't know if you wanted me to name one or something.
Yeah. Like name one that can't be heard unless it's by some kind of caveat.
Eternity.
Okay. So
would Eternity count? Like Eternity
would actually count because he's the constellation of everything. But him being, because I even have a character like that, his name is Void. Being that he's a concept, Pantheon per se can't kill him, but he doesn't have to listen to him in either. But then you have beings like the Spectre. So Spectre has to be bound to a person.
That's what
Yeah, like characters like that. And I even have Judah and like I have Judah of Iscariot. I have Cain, characters like that in Omnicomic. But those beings like Spectre, for instance, Pantheon can snatch Spectre smooth away from his human host. Now I get that once you do that, now Spectre is unbound, but now he no longer has a human host. Pantheon can just absorb him. Or, being that he is an angel of vengeance, Pantheon can actually kill him. He can actually beat him to death. His body or his powers will hurt beings like that. So then somebody who's immortal, so Lobo, for instance. So Lobo is supposed to be completely immortal. He's banned from heaven and hell, and death doesn't want him. Okay, so with that gag, it's always making it seem like if he gets beaten to death, his healing factor will resurrect him because he'll never die. That's fine. Pantheon will literally atomize him. And then as far as his soul, he'll atomize his soul too. He'll render his soul in there. It'll just not be there anymore. So now, he never went to hell. He never went to heaven.
Or projection?
Yeah. Yes, this is from his energy, because his body is his energy, and then, like I said, his energy projection controls the building blocks of creation. So if it was created, he has the ability to destroy it or recreate it how he sees fit.
Mm-hmm. I like
so
this.
if he sees a tree, he can turn a tree into a sunflower. He can turn that sunflower into a rock. Like,
and then with the astral beings or spiritual manipulation, stuff like that, what would he be able to? I meant to ask this earlier, but what would he be able to turn like apparitions and stuff into?
He can actually bring them back. He can make them solidified.
Oh,
he can bring them back. He can place them into new hosts. Again, these are all things that he doesn't know he can do. But he can see them too, which is something that comes to a shock to other teenage characters in the story when a specific spiritual entity that only they can see because that was a friend of theirs, so he has a spiritual link with them. But when Pantheon sees him like walking through the hallway of their school, and he can see that group of kids talking, and he says like, "Hey, what y'all got going on over here? Like, you can see him?" Like, "Yes, I can see him." And then the spirit itself is like, "Wait, you can see me?" It's like, "I saw you walk in here. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this?"
Huh. Okay.
He shakes his hand and everything. Like, how are you able to shake my hand? Like, I'm a spirit,
right.
I'm not solid. Well, around me you are, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
And so, okay, no, that explains it. Okay, dude, this is a neat character, bro. I do like this. Now, we're about to close up here in a second. I'm trying to debate if I. No. You've answered all of those. I was about to ask more about like, oh, okay, well, he could touch him because he's a solid being and stuff like that. But again, there's the perception, that's the spiritual manipulation, there's all of that. In that moment when I'll ask this portion of it anyway. When he tries to like say conversation, he shakes the hand of the spirit and stuff like that. Does it become visible now for them because it's kind of a solid object, or is it just solid for Ashton because of the power that's projecting off of him?
It's just solid for Ashton at that time. And
okay.
Again, this is when he's still young and doesn't know how to use his power. You can't just be walking around like, man, you know what? You seem like a pretty alright dude. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you back to life. Stuff like that. It got way too many consequences. Yeah, way too many consequences and whatnot. He had his entire universe remade for doing stuff like that. So, but that's exactly how that would work. He would shake his hand and he'd be solid to Ashton. Everybody be looking at him like, well, not everybody knew, but as far as his friends and Ashton himself. And every time the dead apparition is around, Ashton can interact with him.
Okay. So,
and not just Ashton, but so can Vale. Vale is embodied in Ashton. She is somewhat of a onboard computer. She's like OnStar if Ashton was a car. So she's always with him. She's always in his head, this, that, and the other. So she's very similar to an apparition, even though she's not a living being. But she can see that too. She'd be able to see that spirit too.
Okay. I do want to dive more into her, but we'll parking lot that for now because that's so. I do want to know now though.
Go ahead. I got answers for you.
She's not dead or anything of that nature. She just resides within the orb itself.
Yeah. So
she just resides inside the
orb. Yeah. So there is a pocket dimension where the orb spawns from. And that dimension is called the Hall of Ancients. The Hall of Ancients is where all 12 statues of the governing deities reside, and then the 6 that make a Pantheon, whenever he wants counsel from them, he can actually go with, I don't want to say within himself, but theoretically, yes, he can go within himself and counsel with them. Like, they're all sitting there. There's these big-ass chairs. And Vale is standing in the center of them as the attendant. Any information that they want to say to him, they tell her. She goes back and she tells him.
So since they are residing in there, are they able to, is she able to also utilize the ability of the orb and kind of project herself as an actual body or anything like that? Or because she's within it, she's kind of stuck within the confines of that?
No. So she actually has, she can be physical. There are times within the series where she is physical. There are times in the series where people think that that's his girlfriend. But she's how me and you were talking, how we're floating back and forth. She can't do that. She talks like a computer, like Drax. Like she doesn't know how to deal with mortal qualms. She doesn't know how to talk like that. So when people do see her for the first couple of times and she's talking to them, she's kind of very robotic in her response because she's never interacted with mortals. She has her own set of abilities, being the attendant. She has the ability to actually show, not right away. I mean, not later on in the series, but for the right now. Say if Ashen got a hold of the orb and he was good and the orb chose him perfectly, but then 2 months later he just started fucking up. Just I'm extinguishing suns, I'm doing all this. She can actually remove the orb from him. Because she's the attendant of the orb. Her job is to keep it safe at all times.
Right. And so if he breaks the rules in the natural order, it's done.
Yeah. So she can just remove it from him and just let him fall back to earth or whatever the case may be. Now that also goes both ways. So she knows, but he doesn't know. He can turn her solid. He can whisk her away. He can summon her at will. He can do whatever he wants to her primarily. He can even use her abilities that she has because she's tied to him, not him tied to her.
Right.
So she's his servant when it comes down to it.
Okay.
But he doesn't know that.
Right. Why would you know that on the onset? Yeah. Okay.
It's actually terrifying.
You said it terrifies him, her?
Yeah. When he first sees her, he thinks he's an alien. And that's actually covered in issue 1. He's terrified of her. He doesn't know what she is.
Okay.
So he gives her a level of respect of like a big sister.
Okay. So as we close up, I know I said that a couple times here. Tell us, got a Kickstarter coming up. When is it launching? How long is it running for? What can we kind of expect? And of course, when we post this and stuff, we'll have the link and all of that. But yeah, when is Kickstarter launching?
Okay, so we're in pre-launch right now, and January 21st, we are going into the actual launch. It's going to be posted up for about 30 days. Kickstarter is already going. You can see a couple of the pages already done. It's beautiful artwork. I got a little bit of help from my man Devin. He's also the writer for Wiseacre Comics, the mangas. So he's been helping me a lot. Like, good dude. So yeah, January 21st is when we're going to go live with Kickstarter. And hopefully we get funded in the first 24 hours. I'm holding on to it. We get funded in the first 24 hours. I've got a lot of projects for you guys to bear witness to, and I think it's going to be refreshing for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And man, if you guys haven't checked out any of his pages, it's Omni Comics on Instagram as well, correct? Omni Comics.
And on Facebook and TikTok.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Bro, you have a lot of characters, a lot of character designs, and they're good. Personally, I know I want to see Adelinda. Adelinda looks so freaking cool to me, bro.
You're going to get that one really soon, and that one's probably going to be really near and dear to your heart because the person I have in mind to write it is Tasha.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
listen.
I spoke to her about it a couple months ago, but it was last year, and I remember you guys sent me an email of what the rates was and everything. But the Warriors one shot, Adelinda being her older sister, I want being that it's a black female character, black female lead, I want a black female writer to bring what's in my head to life. So there's certain nuances and whatnot that I won't be able to get. So I definitely want somebody who's more boots to the ground on that aspect to get it out there to people.
Yeah. Shoot. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that if that ends up happening like that. That's gonna be awesome. So okay. Yeah, dude. Everybody that's watching, is there any other website or anything else that you want to kind of bring up so people can support you there?
Facebook, Omni Comics, same name on Instagram and same on TikTok.
Okay. Everybody, again, we'll have the link and all the associated links and social medias and stuff on here. Definitely support Dre, support Omni Comics, Pantheon coming out soon via Kickstarter. Check all that other good stuff out. And special thanks to you, man. Within the Indie Breakdown group, man, you've been pivotal in helping keep conversations going, having the battles, the exhibition matches, all that other stuff. So definitely special thanks to you for that as well, man. Thank you. So everybody watching, thank you all for tuning in, as this is another Indie Breakdown episode as we attempt to redefine power scaling in the indie world. Again, thank you all for tuning in. I'm Lloyd Jones, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah.